The Alliance calendar marks a fateful moment, year 1111, on the 11th day of the 11th month. Just then, the apocalypse descends upon Blue Star, heralded by a monstrous red-eyed creature. Chaos erupts in an office as bodies fall, and a lone woman screams in terror. Cornered and terrified, she desperately tries to escape the relentless infected horde. Fueled by the thought of her parents, she makes a desperate dash for the warehouse, her only hope for safety. Pausing at the doorway, she glances back, her face a mask of pure horror at the scene unfolding behind her. She watches helplessly as one of her colleagues is overwhelmed by an infected attacker. In his final moments, the man uses his last breath to urge her to run and save herself. The weight of his sacrifice sends her stumbling backward, paralyzed by shock and fear. With its previous victim down, the creature slowly turns, its glowing red eyes now locked onto its next target. The infected creature surges forward, its crimson gaze fixed on her, ready to strike. Paralyzed with fear, she can only cry out for help as the monster closes in. Suddenly, a figure steps into the fray, interrupting the creature's attack. This mysterious hero launches himself into the air, bringing down his weapons on the unsuspecting creature. In a blur of motion, he lands a devastating blow, instantly dispatching the infected foe. A system window pops up, rewarding him with points for the kill as a faint blue light emanates from his eye. Her fear gives way to awe as she gazes upon the man who just saved her life. She recognizes him as Yuni, who stands over her, a silent protector amidst the chaos. Her moment of relief is shattered as another creature lunges from the shadows, catching her completely off guard. With a flash of his glowing blue eye, Yuni turns, ready to face the new threat without a hint of fear. With a single fluid motion, he eliminates the second creature, earning another 10 points. Terrified for his safety, she grabs his leg, pleading with him to escape the chaos. But the hallway is swarming with more infected, turning the office into a battlefield. She looks back in disbelief at the sheer number of monsters now hot on their trail. The horrific reality sinks in, making her question if she's trapped in a nightmare. Yuni, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light, shares her disbelief but with grim determination. A flashback reveals his true identity, not an office worker, but the disguised young master of the powerful Yun family. Just 10 minutes earlier, he was walking through this very office, living a completely normal life. His colleague approaches him with a knowing, flirtatious smile. She playfully uses the apocalypse prophecy as an excuse to ask him to walk her home, catching him off guard. He coolly dismisses her fears, calling the prophecy an old tale that no one believes anymore. Unfazed, he turns away, questioning if she's genuinely as frightened as she claims to be. In her mind, however, she's completely confident that her charms are simply irresistible. But her plea is overheard, and a coworker loudly announces her need for an escort, grabbing everyone's attention. Instantly, a crowd of male colleagues swarms her, all eagerly volunteering for the job. Annoyed by his indifference, she pouts, calling him too stubborn to ever find a girlfriend. The flashback ends, and Yuni sets down a briefcase, contemplating the sudden reality of the apocalypse. A wry smile crosses his face as he sits, acknowledging that her fear was a clever excuse after all. The scene shifts to a city under military lockdown, revealing the prophecy came from an AI prediction 10 years ago. Civilians watch in terror as military jets patrol the skies, the grim reality of the prophecy finally dawning on them. For 10 years, the prophecy was a dud, with the fated day passing without incident. Martial law became a yearly annoyance, and people grew tired of the false alarms. The apocalypse even became a running joke, a quirky excuse for a date night. But Yuni knew better, his focus shifting to something far more important than idle chatter. He opens his briefcase to reveal not office supplies, but a formidable high-tech sword. His colleague had mistaken it for a simple toy, teasing him for his childish hobby. A note from his family reveals the truth. It's the Blade of Annihilation, a top-tier prohibited weapon. He's left wondering just how his family managed to smuggle such a dangerous item to him. The note also carries a personal message, reminding him it's been 3 years since he left home. He recalls leaving his family's grand estate to escape an arranged life, but now decides it's time to return. He decides to wait for his salary the next day before finally returning to his family. But his simple plan is shattered as a deafening boom rips through the office, plunging everything into chaos. A coworker turns in stunned disbelief, unable to comprehend the sudden pandemonium. Everyone's world is turned upside down as they stare in horror at the sky. A colossal, ominous sphere, the prophesied dark star, descends upon the city, casting a blood-red glow. Panic erupts as people realize the authorities gave no warning, and their only thought is to escape. A holographic message announces the start of a global apocalypse game, turning all of humanity into NPCs and monsters. The rules are simple and brutal. Players can kill them, and death in this game is permanent. With his eyes glowing, Yunchi cuts through the panic, focusing on the most critical question: who are the players? A system interface overrides reality, forcing everyone to choose a class within 5 minutes before the game truly begins. A holographic interface appears before him, displaying his stats as a level 1 NPC in this new game. The system then prompts him with a critical choice that will define his future. He knows that picking the right class is the key to surviving the initial chaos. The first option is the Warrior, a class focused on strength and a frenzied bloodthirst ability. Next is the Mage, a master of spirit-based power with enhanced casting speed. The third choice, the Knight, catches his eye with its immense defensive potential. He glances at his sword, realizing a melee class like Knight or Warrior would be a perfect fit. As he contemplates, the Blade of Annihilation suddenly resonates with a brilliant otherworldly energy. The system detects this power, bypassing the standard options to grant him a unique SSS rank class, the Ghost Knight. A spectral visage with a piercing, glowing eye hints at the incredible power he now wields. The system reveals his new class comes with a terrifying passive skill, a death mark that ensures his victims stay down for good. A smirk crosses his face as he realizes this death mark gives him the power to permanently eliminate even the so-called players. Just when he thinks it can't get better, the system grants him another gift, the Son of the Plane talent, boosting his stats to an absurd degree. He can't help but grin at his incredible luck, feeling like he's already cheating the system before the game has even begun. Meanwhile, his colleagues panic as the final countdown begins, realizing they've been given no class choices at all. As the timer hits 1, a single determined eye signals the end of their old world. With a bloody splash screen, the apocalypse game officially begins. The office instantly descends into a brutal free-for-all as a man is savagely attacked by a newly turned monster. The woman he rescued can only watch in abject terror, paralyzed by the sudden, violent turn of events. Her horror intensifies as another one of her co-workers is viciously brought down amidst the chaos. The woman who flirted with him meets a grim end, her transformation beginning instantly. His rescued colleague screams, finally understanding the horrifying truth: their co-workers are turning into monsters. The newly turned infected, including his former admirer, now hunt their old friends with glowing red eyes. Yunki watches in grim silence, realizing the terrifying speed at which the infection spreads. The newly turned woman claims another victim, adding to the office's bloody chaos. Panic takes over as another co-worker breaks from the group, desperately trying to flee. Yunchi intercepts the charging monster, his blade meeting its attack just in time to save another life. A colleague urges everyone to escape, but Yunchi stands his ground, his glowing eye fixed on the enemy. With a single decisive strike, he extinguishes the threat, the creature's malevolent red glow fading to nothing. He clears a path through the carnage, gesturing for his terrified companion to follow him to safety. As they escape, a figure suddenly appears, startling both Yunchi and his companion. The woman warns him of a noise she heard just up ahead, her face etched with fear. A terrified colleague charges forward, mistaking Yunchi for a monster and urging him to attack. Yunchi halts his blade just in time as the man begs for his life, insisting he's still human. He recognizes the man as his cowardly colleague, Liu Yang, who trembles before the sword's edge. After a stern warning, Yunchi turns to leave, abandoning the man to his own fate on the blood-soaked floor. Liu Yang erupts in anger, accusing Yunchi of being inhuman for leaving a teammate behind. Yunchi coldly retorts, exposing the man's history of plagiarism and cruelty to another colleague. The accusation hits its mark, leaving Liu Yang speechless and seething with rage. As Yunchi walks away, the desperate man reveals he's a knight, pleading for an alliance to survive. His companion urges him to reconsider, pointing out that a knight would be a powerful ally. But Yunchi's glowing eyes narrow, dismissing the man's class as irrelevant to his character. Seething on the blood-stained floor, Liu Yang's frustration boils over. Fueled by rage, the spurned colleague grabs a mop and launches a surprise attack. With a flash of light from his blade, Yunchi effortlessly intercepts the makeshift weapon. He shoves back with overwhelming force, sending his attacker reeling in disbelief. The force of the blow leaves the man stunned and gasping for air. But a new threat emerges from the shadows, its glowing red eyes fixed on the Blade of Annihilation. The cowardly knight turns, his previous anger replaced by pure terror as he pleads for his life. Ignoring the desperate pleas, Yunchi turns his back, leaving the treacherous colleague to face the monster alone. He stands his ground, unmoved by the chaos or the pleas of the man he left behind. His companion grabs his arm, urging him to stop his cold detachment and face the reality around them. With glowing eyes, he delivers a harsh truth, reminding her that this is a real apocalypse. He gestures towards the window, showing her the city burning under the shadow of the dark star. He forces her to see the brutal reality on the streets, where the infected now rule. She stares at him in disbelief, struggling to reconcile the ruthless warrior with the colleague she once knew. Yunti warns her that her naivety is a liability that will get her killed in this new world. The brutal honesty of his words sinks in, leaving her pale and shaken. Deciding their next move, he tells her they need to find shelter from the overwhelming horde. As he heads for a nearby room, she calls out his name, uncertain of his plan. His companion opens the door, her face lighting up with relief as she recognizes another survivor. But her relief turns to terror as an infected creature lunges at the glass, its red eyes burning with rage. They realize they're trapped, with more infected relentlessly trying to break into their supposed safe room. His glowing eyes scan the room as he makes a grim calculation. Only 7 survivors remain from the entire company. The small group of survivors huddles in the conference room, a tiny island of humanity in a city consumed by fire. Overwhelmed by the horror, his companion collapses in a corner, unable to comprehend the world's sudden descent into chaos. One of the other survivors tries to rally their spirits, insisting that their only goal should be to remain hidden and alive. But panic turns to blame as a fist slams the table, accusing her of endangering them all by opening the door. The company manager, Cao Yuqian, furiously berates her, telling her to take her heroics elsewhere and not doom the rest of them. A security guard named Zhao Nian stands up to the manager, his expression hardening in defiance of the man's cowardice. Yunqi recalls how the guard, Zhao Nian, drew the horde's attention while saving them. The manager doubles down, accusing the guard of being a potential monster and demanding he leave. He points a trembling, accusatory finger, his rage directed at the stoic guard and silent Yunqi. Having reached his limit, Zhao Nian grabs the manager by the collar, silencing his empty threats of being fired. He shoves the terrified man against the wall, promising to give him a real taste of the apocalypse he fears so much. In a flash of rage, the guard smashes the conference room window, sending shards of glass flying. He drags the screaming manager towards the gaping hole, the city burning 17 stories below. Yunqi tightens his grip on his sword, observing the brutal justice being dealt. Ignoring the manager's desperate pleas, the guard sends him plummeting to the streets below. Exhausted from the confrontation, Zhao Nian calls out to the woman, stopping her from fleeing. The woman reveals she's a mage with healing powers, offering to purify the guard's wounds. Yunqi inwardly scolds her, realizing she's foolishly revealed her valuable class to potential enemies. The other survivors eye each other with suspicion, knowing that trust is a luxury they can't afford. Her naive declaration has just put her in a position of extreme danger. The guard turns, his expression shifting from exhaustion to disbelief at her claim. Another survivor celebrates, believing her healing ability is the key to their collective survival. But a dark, unsettling smile creeps across the guard's face. Instead of seeking help, he lunges back towards the window, his intentions suddenly becoming clear. His eyes widen with a terrifying purpose as he carries out his grim plan. The woman stares in absolute shock, her hope shattered by the guard's brutal betrayal. Yunqi watches from the doorway, his glowing eyes reflecting a cold, calculating calm. A brutal impact from below signals the grim fate of the 2 men. The woman stares in disbelief, struggling to understand the guard's sudden act of cruelty. The guard smirks, revealing his motive was a simple, petty dislike for the manager. She recoils in horror, unable to accept that a human life could be discarded so easily. With a glowing hand, he scoffs at the very notion of human life in this new, brutal reality. Reveling in his new power, the level 1 warrior declares this is his chance to become a master of the new world. Yunqi grimly observes, understanding the true horror that emerges when humanity is unshackled from its laws. Empowered and corrupted, the guard advances on the healer, claiming her as his own. She shoves back with all her might, fiercely rejecting his attempt to dominate her. Yunqi intervenes with a swift kick, sending the power-hungry guard flying. The guard glares back, angrily questioning if Yunqi also wants to claim the healer for himself. With his sword at the ready, Yunqi coldly corrects him, stating his interest is purely in her strategic skills. He knows a healer is a priceless asset, a key to surviving injuries and the virus in this new world. Furious at being thwarted, the guard grabs the nearest object he can find, a fire extinguisher. He brandishes the makeshift weapon, his face twisted with rage as he prepares to attack. The guard leaps forward, intending to crush Yunqi and make him a stepping stone on his path to domination. But Yunqi effortlessly parries the heavy blow, his blade stopping the extinguisher dead in its tracks. The guard stares in disbelief, shocked that his powerful attack was blocked so easily. He then looks down in horror, realizing a dark stain is spreading across his chest, a sign of his own infection. The guard's face twists into a monstrous grin, his eyes glowing with malevolent red energy. Yunqi realizes the warrior class enhances the infection, creating a far more dangerous type of monster. He dodges the heavy swing and counters with a swift kick, sending the enraged guard off balance. Knowing this enhanced threat must be dealt with immediately, he prepares for a decisive strike. He unleashes a powerful slash, his blade a blur of blue light against the red background. The guard cries out in agony as the blade of annihilation finds its mark. With a final powerful kick, Yunqi sends the mutated guard flying, shattering his weapon. He stands victorious over the fallen guard, his cool demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos. The remaining survivors can only stare in horror, shocked by the brutal end to the confrontation. Ignoring their fear, Yunqi turns away, his attention already shifting to the world outside. Yunqi hopes the brutal lesson will teach the healer to be less reckless in the future. He reflects that his display of power was necessary to control the remaining survivors through fear. He turns to the remaining survivors, silently daring anyone to challenge his authority. The terrified survivors quickly assure him they have no intention of crossing him, only wanting to live. Satisfied with their response, he lets the light from his blade fade, signaling the immediate threat is over. Taking command, he instructs the healer to tend to the other survivors' injuries. The healer nervously begins her work, casting a green restorative glow over her colleagues' wounds. While the others are being treated, Yunqi turns his attention to a laptop, trying to gather information. Finding the laptop useless, he pulls out his phone, searching for another way to connect to the outside world. But his phone confirms his suspicion. All communication networks are down, cutting them off completely. He realizes their only link to the outside world is the game's world channel, a resource everyone is likely using. The world chat confirms his suspicion, a chaotic mess of panic, rumors, and desperate pleas for rescue. He turns away, concluding that most survivors are helpless and waiting for someone else to save them. Deciding to focus on his own power, he pulls up his personal status screen in a flash of digital code. He finally gets a chance to analyze his stats, noting his unique class and the powerful Son of the Plane talent. His eyes narrow on an unfamiliar stat called compatibility, questioning its purpose in the game. He wisely decides to hold off on using the permanent 100x boost until he fully understands the game's mechanics. For now, he opts for a safer strategy, choosing to apply a temporary 10x boost to his points acquisition. The upgrade is a success and he clenches his fist, thrilled that he can now grow 10 times faster than anyone else. Meanwhile, the healer suddenly feels weak, realizing her magic has left her completely drained and starving. Yunqi listens as the other survivors realize that hiding in the conference room is a slow death sentence. He knows they only have 20 hours before the real players arrive, escalating the danger. This current chaos is just a warm-up for an even greater massacre that will soon engulf the world. His blade of annihilation flares with power as he solidifies his plan. Determined to farm points, he ignores the panicked pleas of his colleagues. The other survivors are paralyzed with fear, certain that opening the door will doom them all. With an intimidating glare, he commands them to get out of his way. The healer tries to reason with him, begging him not to throw his life away. He coldly informs them that without supplies, hiding is just a slower way to die. But his brutal logic is lost on them, as another survivor insists that any fate is better than facing the monsters outside. A survivor points out that while Yunqi is armed, the rest of them would be helpless outside. The healer grabs his arm, begging him to wait for the military rescue she's certain will arrive. But Yunqi knows better, suspecting the apocalypse game makes any real rescue highly unlikely. Just then, a deafening sound from outside shatters the window, catching everyone off guard. Both he and the healer look up, stunned by the sudden development. A massive fleet of futuristic military ships fills the sky, a beacon of hope against the chaos. A holographic broadcast appears, with a military leader urging all of humanity not to give up. He announces that rescue teams are en route and instructs able-bodied survivors to head for the rooftops. The message brings a wave of relief to a hiding survivor, who believes her nightmare is finally ending. The other survivors celebrate the news, but Yunqi remains unconvinced, observing their naive optimism. The military leader's message is cut short as a system override declares all interference will be removed. In a flash of fire and light, the entire rescue fleet is targeted for annihilation. The survivors can only watch in stunned silence as their last hope is brutally extinguished. The sky rains fire as the burning wreckage of the military ships plummets towards the city below. One of the massive vessels smashes into a skyscraper, turning the promise of rescue into a new wave of destruction. Panic grips the streets as civilians flee the fiery debris now raining down upon them. The shockwave from a nearby impact sends Yunqi and the others flying, the ground shaking violently beneath them. The city's skyline is consumed by explosions, proving the game system's absolute and terrifying control. A massive piece of shrapnel hurtles directly towards the survivors, threatening to crush them instantly. With lightning reflexes, Yunqi pulls the healer to safety just as the floor beneath them is obliterated. As she plummets into the abyss, the healer desperately calls out to Yunqi for help. Straining to hold on, he curses the game's sudden and brutal spike in difficulty. The system announces a supply drop, turning the fight for survival into a desperate scavenger hunt. His expression hardens with resolve as he makes a split-second life-or-death decision. He instructs her to jump with him, a plan she finds completely insane. Ignoring her protests, he kicks off the wall and plunges them both towards the ground below. Her terror is palpable as they fall, but Yunqi remains focused, his gaze locked on their destination. The ground rushes up to meet them as they plummet from the 17th floor. With impossible speed, he adjusts their trajectory, aiming for a specific landing spot. Touching down with impossible grace, he shields her from the impact, landing safely amidst the chaos. His eyes narrow with satisfaction, his daring plan executed perfectly. She stammers her thanks, still in shock, as he holds her securely. Without a word, he sets her down and strides towards his next objective, leaving her bewildered. His target becomes clear, a massive supply crate that landed amidst the destruction. The healer realizes with a jolt that his insane jump was a calculated move to secure the supplies. She marvels at his incredible adaptability, spotting an opportunity even while falling from a skyscraper. But their prize is not unguarded, as an infected creature lunges from behind the debris. Yunqi calmly intercepts the monster's attack, his blade holding firm against its claws. With a flash of blue light, he raises his sword, preparing to unleash a devastating downward slash. He executes a powerful swing, forcing the agile monster to leap backward to avoid the blow. The creature roars in fury, its eyes burning with a malevolent red glow. Yunqi remains unfazed, his gaze sharp as he assesses the growing number of threats. The healer's eyes widen in terror as she realizes more infected are rising from the debris. She calls out in alarm, seeing that they are now completely surrounded by the relentless horde. An overhead view confirms their dire situation, trapped in a circle of monsters with no clear path out. He calmly tells her they must separate to survive, a plan she meets with pure dread. With a final command for her to run, he charges headfirst into the swarm of infected. He ducks under a monster's attack, his blade ready to cut a path through the chaos. A system notification confirms his kill and a 100-point reward, fueling his determination. Taking his advice, the healer flees in terror as the monstrous horde gives chase. She screams in terror, running for her life with a horde of infected hot on her heels. Overwhelmed with fear, she cries out, having no idea how to fight back against her pursuers. As she flees across the chasm, Yunqi single-handedly holds back the tide of monsters on the other side. In a blur of motion, he suddenly appears before her, taunting her about her panicked escape. He brings his blade of annihilation down with incredible force, ready to clear her path. With a single, devastating swing, he dispatches 3 monsters simultaneously, earning a cool 300 points. Their brief respite is shattered as another wave of infected claws its way out of the rubble. Unfazed by the new threat, his glowing eye narrows as he prepares for the next onslaught. His blade becomes a blur of light, effortlessly cutting through the advancing horde. Standing amidst the carnage, a faint blue light marks him as a force of absolute power in this new world. He stands victorious, the last of the monsters falling before him in the ruined cityscape. The healer watches from a distance, stunned by the sheer number of enemies he dispatched alone. Leaning against a wall, she finally catches her breath, believing the immediate threat has passed. Yunqi smirks, realizing his 10x point boost is an unfair advantage, and muses about his family's immense power. His victory celebration is cut short as he remembers the real prize, the supply crate. He kneels beside the crate, finally reaching the objective he risked everything to secure. A system notification rewards him with a massive 1,000 points just for discovering the supplies. With his points boosted, his thoughts immediately turn to the game's leaderboard and his current standing. The leaderboard reveals he's in 3rd place, trailing 2 legendary figures of the Human Alliance. He recognizes the top-ranked player, Fang Gan, as the Alliance's revered god of war. He also recognizes the second-ranked player, Yuen Jin, the brilliant patriarch of the Yuen family. With these two legends leading the charge, humanity still believes it has a fighting chance. Yunki deduces their high scores come from using elite soldiers to secure supply drops, not just from killing monsters. To avoid attracting the attention of these powerhouses, he wisely chooses to keep his name hidden on the leaderboard. His companion approaches, curious about the contents of the crate he risked so much to get. With a flick of the latches, he pops open the military-grade supply container. Inside, he finds a cache of valuable medical supplies, including potions and antidotes. He picks up a life potion, realizing these items make him completely self-sufficient in a fight. A cold thought crosses his mind. With these supplies, the troublesome healer might now be a liability. His expression hardens as he turns away, contemplating his next move without her. Just as he contemplates his next move, a new, far more agile monster leaps from the ruins to challenge him. This creature is different, its eyes burning with a cunning malice that sets it apart from the mindless horde. The healer cries out a warning, but Yunchi is already locked in combat with the formidable new foe. He deflects a vicious claw strike, realizing this opponent is on another level entirely. Yunchi counters with a powerful downward slash, but the creature dodges with impossible speed. Landing gracefully, the monster leaves him stunned by its incredible agility. It lunges again in a blur of motion, giving him no time to recover from his missed attack. For the first time, a flicker of surprise crosses Yunchi's face as he struggles to keep up. The monster unleashes a furious barrage of attacks, overwhelming his defenses with sheer speed and power. A final, devastating blow sends him flying, proving that even with his power, he's not invincible. He quickly regains his balance, planting his feet firmly on the cracked ground. Standing tall, he faces the roaring creature, recognizing it as a far superior threat. His glowing eyes narrow as he realizes this mutated monster is twice as strong as the others. Deciding he needs an edge, he pulls out a glowing combat potion from the supply crate. With grim determination, he injects the serum, preparing for a temporary power boost. A system notification confirms a 20% increase to all his combat stats for a mere 10 seconds. He scoffs at the potion's short duration, annoyed by the low-quality military supplies. The agile monster lunges forward again, its claws aimed for a finishing blow. Making the most of his limited time, he unleashes a powerful counterattack with his blade. His boosted strength allows him to land a decisive strike, ending the advanced creature's assault. The creature lets out a furious roar, its rage intensifying its attack. Its razor-sharp claws grind against his blade in a desperate struggle for dominance. The monster presses its advantage, forcing Yunchi back with a flurry of strikes. He grits his teeth, taking a glancing blow as the creature's speed proves overwhelming. His companion can only watch in terror, calling out his name as the battle turns against him. He digs his heels in, barely managing to parry a devastating overhead blow. With a surge of adrenaline, he pushes back, his expression one of pure focus. The agile monster is thrown off balance, giving him a precious second to regroup. He curses his luck as the combat potion wears off, leaving him vulnerable once more. His eyes lock onto the supply crate, knowing he must reach it to survive this fight. The creature lets out a furious roar, its mutated face twisted in pure, unadulterated rage. A bead of sweat rolls down his temple, but a confident smirk reveals he still has a plan. He brings his blade down with lethal intent, aiming to pin the creature to the ground. His grip on the blade of annihilation tightens, channeling its otherworldly power into the strike. Realizing he's outmatched, he abandons the fight and makes a desperate sprint for the supply crate. His eyes are locked on his objective, knowing the contents of the crate are his only hope. He glances back in alarm as the agile monster closes the distance with terrifying speed. Just as the creature is about to pounce, the healer throws 2 vials through the air to help him. He snatches the potions from the air, recognizing them as a potential lifeline. Turning back, he sees his companion standing by the crate, realizing she's the one who saved him. She brandishes a makeshift weapon glowing with green energy, trying to taunt the creature. The healer desperately tries to draw the monster's attention, creating a vital diversion. Despite her best efforts, her attempt to be intimidating comes off as more comical than threatening. Her bizarre display actually works, momentarily confusing the red-eyed monster and halting its assault. Seizing the opportunity, he injects a potion, a smirk confirming she's proven her worth. Its confusion turns to rage as the monster lets out a furious roar and charges forward again. Empowered by the potion, he meets the creature's attack head-on in a blur of motion. A system notification confirms he's boosted his stats and reduced his pain for a critical 10 seconds. With his eye glowing, he focuses his will, determined to make every second of the boost count. The enraged monster lunges once more, its claws ready to tear him apart. He explodes forward with newfound speed, his body wreathed in the potion's green aura. His powerful blow sends the agile monster reeling, its body flung backward through the air. He presses the attack, his glowing eyes fixed on his target as he closes in for the final blow. A final, crushing blow connects, sending the monster hurtling through the air in defeat. With a final, agonized roar, the advanced monster is permanently dispatched from the battlefield. His companion rushes toward him in relief, calling out his name as he stands over the vanquished foe. She immediately casts her healing spell, a green light enveloping him to mend the wounds from the battle. A flicker of surprise crosses his face as he feels the restorative magic, reassessing her capabilities. He's inwardly impressed, acknowledging that she's adapting to this brutal new reality far quicker than he expected. She reflects on his strength and his choice to save her, realizing he's not as cold as he first appeared. She resolves to be more than a bystander, determined to fight alongside him. He acknowledges the comforting warmth of her magic, realizing a healer is more valuable than any supply drop. With the immediate danger gone, he leads the way through the ruined streets. He stoops to retrieve a small dagger from the debris, a new tool for their survival. Yunki hands her the weapon, giving her a grim but necessary task to prove her mettle. He explains that in this world, everyone must fight for their own points and power to survive. His words strike a chord, and she understands she can no longer depend on him for protection. Steeling her nerves, she stands over the fallen creature, preparing to do what's necessary. Her hands tremble but grip the dagger with newfound determination. Mustering all her courage, she raises the blade, ready to take her first life in this new world. With a final, desperate roar, the creature is silenced as she brings the dagger down. She stands over her first kill, the reality of her actions sinking in amidst the surrounding carnage. A system notification rewards her with 500 points and a new single-target healing skill for her efforts. Overjoyed with her new power, she thanks Yunqi, who seems completely taken aback by her success. The shock hits him so hard that he stumbles to his knees, the ground cracking under the force of his frustration. He seethes with jealousy, realizing the 5,000 points and skill she just earned could have been his. She rushes to his side with concern, but he brushes it off, claiming he's just suddenly tired. His calculating gaze reveals his true thoughts. He must bind this increasingly valuable healer to him at all costs. Putting his envy aside, he takes charge once more, telling her they need to find a safe shelter. His expression hardens with resolve, knowing that securing her loyalty is now his top priority. The healer confidently tells Yunqi she knows a place with a large stash of supplies. Their new destination is a large residential complex in the heart of the ruined city. He leads the way as they navigate the narrow, debris-filled alleyways. They discover a street littered with fallen monsters, evidence of a recent intense battle. Peeking around a corner, Yunqi correctly guesses their destination is the Green Bay community. He then correctly deduces that the supposed shelter is actually her home. She's stunned, he knew, but he coldly explains he overheard her co-workers' constant attempts to walk her home. She confesses her true motive is to check on her parents, but promises a massive food supply thanks to her hoarder mother. With a nervous blush, she invites him to stay and meet her parents, hoping to deepen their connection. Ignoring her personal invitation, he states that since the area is clear, their only focus should be securing the supplies. With their new destination set, they step out onto the deserted street. But before they leave, he stops her, testing if she remembers his survival lessons. With a confident smile, she begins to recite his warnings about the most dangerous human threats. First on her list are the pre-apocalypse fighters, especially the lethal assassin class with their defense-ignoring attacks. The second threat she names are shooters, whose long-range attacks can be instantly fatal to any newcomer. Finally, she identifies the third danger as beast tamers, who command powerful creatures to do their fighting for them. As they walk through the empty streets, she questions if these classes are truly as formidable as he claims. He confirms her fears, warning that a conflict with a shooter could mean death before she even sees it coming. Just as he speaks, a red laser dot appears on his chest, a chillingly immediate confirmation of his warning. He instinctively leaps aside as a powerful blast obliterates the spot where he was just standing. His face contorts in shock as he identifies the unseen threat as a shooter. His companion cries out his name, her face a mask of terror for his safety. The sniper's laser sight locks onto his chest, tracing a deadly path across the blood-stained street. From a high vantage point, a soldier reports their position, mistaking them for more infected. Yunqi's expression darkens, confirming his warning about the deadly shooter class was all too accurate. Viewed through the sniper's scope, they raise their hands in surrender, trying to signal they are not a threat. The soldier issues a cold ultimatum demanding they prove their humanity or face the consequences. Yunqi glances back, baffled by the impossible demand and searching for a way out of the standoff. Just as they're frozen in place, one of the fallen monsters on the street begins to stir with a vengeful roar. Its eyes burn with a furious red glow as the reanimated creature prepares to lunge at its nearest target. Reacting instantly, Yunqi leaps forward to dispatch the reanimated monster before it can attack. A system notification pops up, rewarding him with 100 points for the quick kill. A confident smirk crosses his face as he realizes he can use this standoff to his advantage. Spotting another opportunity, he urges his companion to finish off a downed monster for some free points. Her eyes narrow with resolve as she channels energy into her dagger, ready to follow his lead. She plunges the dagger into the creature's head, securing the kill and a small 10-point reward. A flurry of notifications confirms their kills, highlighting the massive point difference between them. Their point farming spree infuriates the sniper, who angrily orders them and Yunqi's girlfriend to stop. The girlfriend comment makes the healer blush, while Yunqi remains completely unfazed. With the immediate threat cleared, they are directed towards the military squad for inspection. Yunqi's sharp gaze sizes up the approaching squad, assessing their strength. He notes their formation is dominated by shooters, supported by a handful of mages. He's impressed by their well-rounded team of knights, warriors, and beast tamers, recognizing them as a professional unit. A female soldier reports to her vice captain that the two survivors are surprisingly unharmed. The vice captain smirks, mockingly congratulating them on their luck for stumbling upon his law enforcement team. He explains his squad broke into an armory to establish a defensive line and aid in the evacuation. The soldier assures them that all local survivors have been gathered, and they'll be withdrawing soon. Yunqi understands now why the streets were cleared of people, leaving only the fallen monsters. The sound of approaching footsteps signals the arrival of the squad's true leader. The soldiers snap to attention, saluting as their formidable Captain Han finally makes his appearance. The squad's leader, Captain Han Yi, steps forward, his stern gaze radiating authority. He introduces himself as the team's captain and questions how Yunqi and his companions survived to reach this point. The healer anxiously asks the captain about the Green Bay community, desperate for news of her parents. Captain Han delivers a grim verdict, stating the area is too high risk and anyone left is likely lost. His brutal assessment shatters her hope, leaving her stunned and speechless. Yunqi steadies her, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to her rising panic. Unconvinced, Yunqi challenges the captain's certainty, noting the lack of reliable communication. The hot-headed vice captain immediately steps in, angrily telling Yunqi to stay quiet. Captain Han calmly explains they used the World Channel, but all contact with Green Bay ceased half an hour ago. He concludes the community is overrun, warning that even Yunqi's power is no match for such a massive horde. Yunqi listens silently, his expression unreadable as he considers the captain's grim warning. The captain advises her not to take the risk, suggesting her parents would want her to live on. Yunqi holds the devastated healer, privately agreeing that returning now would be a foolish and heartbreaking endeavor. Their tense standoff is shattered by a powerful tremor as a new threat rumbles towards them. A scout runs in with an urgent warning, reporting a non-humanoid horde approaching from the north. Yunqi's eyes widen in disbelief as he recognizes the sound of the approaching stampede. A massive herd of mutated beasts thunders down the street, kicking up a cloud of debris. A close-up reveals the horrifying new enemy, a horde of mutated, red-eyed zombie pigs. Captain Han immediately orders his squad into a defensive formation, with shield-bearers taking the front line. He then commands his shooters to move forward, establishing a powerful firing line to meet the charge. The captain orders his knights and warriors to form a second line, with beast tamers covering the flanks. A female soldier directs the mages to the rear, telling them to be ready with their healing magic. Yunqi is impressed, noting how this professional team has already established a smooth combat rhythm. A soldier shouts that the mutated pigs have entered their firing range, the ground shaking from their charge. With a furious expression, Captain Han gives the decisive order to open fire. The squad unleashes a hail of bullets while mages erect a protective barrier behind the front line. The first wave of pigs is torn apart by the gunfire, but the horde's advance barely slows. Undeterred, the relentless beasts leap over their fallen comrades, continuing their furious charge. The soldier urgently warns the captain that their defensive line is about to be overwhelmed. Captain Han grits his teeth, stunned that even their overwhelming firepower can't stop the stampede. Realizing their defensive line is about to break, the captain orders his entire squad to fall back. Panic sets in as the snipers realize they're out of ammunition and need to reload at the worst possible moment. One of the snipers tries to flee, but an injured leg slows his escape, leaving him dangerously exposed. The helpless soldier looks up in terror as a massive red-eyed pig lunges in for the kill. The vice captain cries out his comrade's name, powerless to stop the inevitable. Just in time, a powerful jet of water slams into the pig, blasting it away from the downed soldier. Stunned by the sudden turn of events, the vice captain looks to see who intervened. The source of the blast is revealed to be Yun-Chi, who calmly wields a fire hose as a weapon. The vice captain is forced to acknowledge Yun-Chi's talent, impressed by his clever use of a high-pressure hose. As the rescued sniper is helped to safety, the vice captain gives a nod of grudging respect to Yun-Chi for the save. The vice captain offers his thanks, but Yun-Chi coldly clarifies his actions were purely to avoid attracting more monsters. He inwardly curses his luck, annoyed that he was forced to act before he could fully assess the squad's strength. The relentless horde of mutated pigs roars forward, their numbers seemingly endless and their fury unabated. Realizing their defenses are failing, the vice captain desperately orders his heavy weapons team to provide cover fire. A specialized rocket team sprints to the front, each soldier armed with a powerful launcher. The squad unleashes a devastating volley of rockets, aiming to obliterate the charging beasts. The initial blast rips through the front of the horde, sending monsters and debris flying in a fiery explosion. A chain reaction of explosions tears through the stampede, engulfing the street in a storm of fire. The fiery onslaught continues, a desperate attempt to halt the unstoppable tide of mutated pigs. But from the smoke and flames, a new electrically charged pig emerges, more powerful than any they've faced. Yun-Chi observes the chaos, unimpressed by the military's inefficient brute force tactics. The rocket team despairs as a soldier confirms they're down to their very last shell. Before the panicked soldier can react, the heavy weapon is suddenly snatched from his grasp. Yun-Chi calmly takes the rocket launcher, deciding to show the professionals how it's done. The soldier tries to protest, stunned by Yun-Chi's sudden and seemingly reckless intervention. Instead of firing it normally, he strikes the rocket with his blade, launching it with a powerful, unconventional blow. The rocket soars through the air, completely missing the horde and heading straight for a nearby skyscraper. The soldier yells in frustration, convinced Yun-Chi has just wasted their final shot on a random building. But his shot was perfectly calculated, causing the entire building to collapse directly onto the charging horde. The mutated pigs can only roar in defiance as tons of rubble rain down, burying them completely. The street is a scene of total devastation, with the mutated horde seemingly crushed beneath the fallen skyscraper. The soldier who owned the rocket launcher stares in wide-eyed disbelief, stunned by the sheer effectiveness of Yun-Chi's strategy. Yun-Chi smirks, vindicated by his success, while the vice captain grudgingly admits the kid is incredibly good. But their victory is short-lived as a surviving pig begins to claw its way out from under the debris. Captain Han urgently warns his squad that the monsters are recovering and they must remain vigilant. Yun-Chi then points out a new crisis, explaining that the nuclear power plant's emergency systems have failed. The captain's face pales as he processes the catastrophic implications of a potential meltdown. Springing into action, he orders the vice captain to take a team and repair the critical power infrastructure. The military squad quickly mobilizes, forming a defensive perimeter around their new objective. Their renewed focus is shattered as the surviving pigs, led by the electric beast, erupt from the rubble with a furious roar. The vice captain reports he secured the power cable, ready to execute their desperate plan. Captain Han urgently orders him to throw the live cable into the water while the others fall back. With a powerful heave, the vice captain hurls the sparking cable towards the flooded street. The cable plunges into the water, unleashing a massive and deadly electrical discharge. A wave of pure electricity surges through the water, racing towards the charging horde. The mutated pigs are caught in the deadly current, their furious charge brought to a shocking halt. A flood of system notifications confirms the squad has eliminated dozens of pigs in a single move. Yun-Chi smirks, calculating that any surviving pigs will be too weak to pose a threat. The vice captain marvels at the sheer power of the emergency generator that fueled the attack. But Yun-Chi explains it was the debris from the collapsed building that supercharged the water's conductivity. The vice captain is left in awe, realizing Yun-Chi's tactical mind quickly weaponized their surroundings. Yun-Chi's confident smirk reveals his terrifying ability to adapt and thrive in any chaotic situation, but he warns them it's too early to celebrate, as the surviving pigs charge forward with renewed fury. The soldiers hastily raise their shields, bracing for the impact of the relentless electrified beasts. The front line immediately crumbles as a soldier is sent flying, completely overpowered by a charging pig. Even the powerful vice captain struggles to hold his ground, his shield barely deflecting the creature's attack. The squad's formation shatters as another soldier is violently kicked aside by the unstoppable beasts. Captain Han grits his teeth, realizing the pig's impact force is far greater than any monster they've faced. His men cry out in desperation, their shields cracking as they admit they can't hold the line any longer. Watching the chaos unfold, Yunqi calmly decides he must take matters into his own hands to turn the tide. A red-eyed pig, crackling with energy, leads the charge with unstoppable fury. Unfazed, Yunqi snatches a riot shield and prepares to meet the beast's attack head-on. The vice captain yells in alarm, certain that a direct confrontation with the monster is a death sentence. But Yunqi stands firm, confidently declaring that the beast is the one in danger, not him. He digs the shield into the pavement, creating an immovable barrier just as the creature makes contact. The impact shatters the ground, but Yunqi holds his position, mocking the pig's brute force. The furious beast roars, pushing with all its might against his unyielding defense. In a stunning display of strength, he redirects the pig's momentum, effortlessly flipping it into the air. His eye glows with an intense blue light, signaling the activation of a powerful skill. With a single fluid motion, he unleashes a devastating slash, dispatching the airborne beast with ease. A system notification rewards him with a massive 2,000 points for felling the powerful beast. His point total soars, and more importantly, he unlocks his very first class skill, Resurrection. The skill allows him to revive a fallen creature, enslaving it as a loyal servant whose power scales with his own. A look of grim satisfaction crosses his face, realizing the game-changing potential of his new ability. His gaze falls upon the defeated pig, seeing not a corpse but a perfect test subject for his power. With a confident smirk, he decides to put his new necromantic talent to immediate use. A vibrant green aura envelops him as he channels his will, commanding the fallen beast to rise once more. He unleashes a concentrated sphere of resurrection energy towards his target. The pig's body convulses, bathed in an eerie green light as it's pulled back from the brink of death. Now reanimated and under his command, the once feral pig stands as his first loyal undead servant. The vice captain stares in disbelief, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. He yells a frantic warning, believing the pig is still a threat and Yunqi is in danger. Stumbling backward in shock, the soldier can't comprehend what he's seeing. His jaw drops as Yunqi leaps onto the back of the reanimated beast, becoming an unlikely rider. Yunqi scoffs at the soldier's ridiculous name for him, clearly unimpressed by the title. But he admits that the combat power of his new undead servant is exactly what he needs. With his blade held high, he and his new mount charge forward, a whirlwind of green energy. He carves a path through the remaining horde, racking up thousands of points with each slain monster. The entire military squad can only watch, speechless at his overwhelming and terrifying power. In a flash of movement, he and his steed clear the street, leaving a trail of defeated enemies in their wake. His reanimated servant viciously tears through its former brethren, its loyalty absolute. A system notification confirms another 2,000-point kill as he and his mount carve through the horde. The ground suddenly shatters as a new colossal threat makes its thunderous arrival. Inspired by his power, the vice captain rallies his squad, ordering them to provide covering fire for Yunqi. He effortlessly dispatches another monster, his blade a blur of deadly precision from atop his undead steed. The battlefield is left a smoking ruin, the ground cracked and littered with the aftermath of the intense fight. Surveying the field of defeated beasts, he sits calmly on his mount, satisfied with the swift conclusion. But just as the soldiers relax, a new horde of humanoid figures shambles out from the dust. The new threat is revealed to be a swarm of red-eyed zombies, their roars signaling a fresh wave of terror. The vice captain rallies his exhausted troops, promising them victory and a return home if they can win this final battle. The soldiers roar with renewed morale, ready to face the final wave of monsters. But just as they prepare to fire, a desperate plea to hold their attack rings out. Yunqi turns in confusion, wondering who would stop them at such a critical moment. His companion suddenly rushes forward, stopped only by the vice captain's firm grip. Her face is a mask of pure horror as she recognizes two figures among the approaching infected. Yunqi watches her intense reaction, a sudden dreadful realization dawning on him. Two of the zombies stand out from the horde, their familiar faces twisted by the infection. With tears streaming down her face, she confirms the unthinkable. The monsters are her parents. Yunqi immediately warns her to stay back, trying to keep her from a tragic reunion. He stands between her and the horde, understanding the terrible choice she now faces. He warns her that the creatures before them are no longer the parents she remembers. The vice captain furiously orders his squad to arm themselves, reminding them they are facing zombies. The soldiers charge forward on command, while the healer can only watch in helpless despair. Yunki and his undead mount leap over the two familiar zombies, heading for the larger horde. Her infected father roars with mindless rage, his eyes burning with a terrifying red light. He lands with devastating force, scattering the horde and shattering the pavement beneath his mount. After the initial impact, he lands gracefully amidst the carnage, ready for the next wave. He finds himself completely surrounded, realizing the sheer number of enemies will be a serious problem. The relentless horde swarms him, their grasping hands reaching out to overwhelm him. Suddenly, a hail of bullets tears through the nearest zombie, signaling the military squad has joined the fight. He turns in surprise, taken aback by the military squad's sudden intervention. The squad's shooters take position, unleashing a disciplined volley of fire to support him. He observes the soldiers clashing with the infected, turning the street into a chaotic war zone. The vice captain approaches, warning him not to be a lone hero and to fight alongside their team. A soldier grins eagerly, declaring he won't let a newcomer steal all the valuable points. Yunki smirks, proposing a simple competition. Everyone hunts their own prey, no kill-stealing allowed. With the term set, the battle erupts into a brutal free-for-all against the roaring horde. 20 minutes later, the fight is still raging as Yunchi carves a path through the enemy lines. Even the vice captain is pushed to his limit, his shield cracking under the overwhelming force of the zombies. Finally, the street falls silent, with Yunchi and the surviving soldiers standing over the defeated horde. With his blade planted firmly in the ground, he signals the end of the brutal conflict. He sits to catch his breath, admitting to himself that the soldiers' support was a welcome, if unexpected, advantage. Seeing him rest, his companion hurries over, ready to offer her healing magic. She immediately casts a powerful healing spell, enveloping him in a restorative green light. As she heals him, she's struck by the terrifying thought that he's all she has left in this new world. Feeling his wounds close, he tells her to take this moment to say a final farewell to her parents. He stands, his expression grim, leaving her stunned and confused by his unexpected suggestion. Her gaze falls upon the still forms of her infected parents, who were neutralized during the chaos. The full weight of her loss crashes down on her, and she cries out in anguish. Through her grief, she realizes he had deliberately spared her parents, giving her this one last chance for closure. He offers her his own blade, entrusting her with the grim task ahead. With the heavy sword in hand, she walks toward the still roaring forms of her parents. The creatures that were once her family snarl with mindless fury, their humanity completely lost. Her grip tightens on the hilt, her knuckles white with the strain of her decision. Tears fall as she tries to say goodbye, her voice filled with a sorrow that can't reach them. Yunqi watches silently, understanding the weight of her burden and offering to bear it himself. She turns her back to him, choosing to face this final trial alone and find her own closure. She makes a final promise to her parents, vowing to survive and honor their memory. With a heart-wrenching cry, she lifts the massive sword, ready to deliver a merciful end. She brings the blade down with all her might, freeing them from their monstrous existence in a final act of love. With a final, decisive strike, she ends their suffering, bringing a tragic end to her family's story. A system notification suddenly announces the death of his undead companion, leaving Yunqi utterly bewildered. As she sits silently amidst the carnage, grieving her loss, Yunqi approaches with a heavy heart. But his grief isn't for her. He collapses in a dramatic display of sorrow over his fallen undead pig. He inwardly fumes, lamenting that his powerful beast was taken down so easily by her borrowed blade. He watches the soldiers cleansing the battlefield, realizing their actions prevent him from resurrecting another pig. In a desperate and comical attempt, he tries to rouse his fallen steed, refusing to accept its demise. His companion questions his bizarrely intense grief, pointing out that he seems more upset than she is. Their strange moment is interrupted by a soldier's call for healers to tend to the wounded. She thanks him for his help, then leaves to fulfill her duty as a healer, ready to aid the injured soldiers. He reasons that the busy military squad won't pay close attention to his companion's unique powers. He also believes that keeping her occupied with healing duties will distract her from her recent trauma. Suddenly, a disembodied voice from the system interface startles him, asking if anyone is there. His sharp, involuntary reaction immediately catches the attention of the nearby vice captain. The soldier turns back with a confused and slightly annoyed expression, wondering what's wrong. Yunqi asks if he also heard the mysterious voice, but the vice captain is completely oblivious. He quickly dismisses his own question, trying to play off the strange occurrence as nothing. He realizes with dawning certainty that he was the only one to hear it, confirming it came from the game interface. His irritation grows as the system's new voice chat function floods his senses with noisy, unwanted chatter. A massive glowing blue system panel suddenly materializes, signaling a major and unexpected change to the game. He discovers a new group channel option has appeared on his system interface. A notification confirms he's been automatically added to a group called Apocalypse Walkers. His expression hardens with confusion as a strange blue light envelops him. A blinding flash of energy transports his consciousness to an unknown location. He materializes in a vast chamber, finding himself at a round table with 9 other mysterious figures. Realizing he's in a mental space, he assesses his new surroundings and the other members. He notes the system's limitations, realizing there's no way to leave this mysterious preset group. The revelation hits him that this group was predetermined, and he's been chosen for a specific purpose. His gaze sweeps across the other shadowy members, trying to understand the nature of this secret assembly. A masked member suddenly addresses him, mockingly questioning why he's so clueless about their situation. Yuni feigns ignorance, questioning what special thing the masked figure could possibly be referring to. Another member speculates it must be the sword his sister recently gave him, wondering about its significance. A woman seated on a throne issues a chilling warning. They are all Apocalypse Walkers, but whether they become allies or enemies remains to be seen. Unfazed by the threat, Yuni cuts straight to the point, demanding to know what an Apocalypse Walker actually is. The woman on the throne begins to speak, her expression hidden as she prepares to reveal the truth. But an eager, shield-wielding member interrupts, excitedly explaining they are the 10 chosen wielders of the legendary Titan artifacts. He reveals that a supercomputer named Titan foresaw the world's end and created 10 powerful artifacts for 10 chosen individuals. These artifacts act like a virus within the game's system, allowing their users to grow stronger by consuming game data. Yuni now stands among the other chosen, finally understanding he is one of these 10 uniquely empowered individuals. He grips his sword, realizing it's an artifact his family gave him, a sacrifice made to ensure the survival of their runaway son. A masked member, calling him number 7, impatiently demands a response from the silent Yuni. Yuni ignores the taunt, instead questioning the group about the situation in Jeongdu and the fate of the major families. He reveals the major families were warned ahead of time and are safe, though one patriarch met a grim end at the hands of his own son. The news brings him a flicker of relief, as he realizes his own family is likely safe. The shield wielder then raises a new question about compatibility, revealing his own artifact is only at 10%. A mysterious woman with shadowed eyes confirms her compatibility level is also the same. The man with sunglasses confirms it's the same for him, annoyed that the system provided no explanation for this feature. With no more information to gain, the woman announces her departure from the ethereal meeting chamber. Snapping back to reality, he finds himself on the ruined street, standing over the body of his fallen undead servant. He reflects on the sudden gathering, realizing that in a group of wary strangers, no one's word can be trusted. He realizes his artifact is a game-breaking plug-in and questions if it has its own intelligent system. As if in answer, a swirling ball of bright blue energy suddenly materializes before him. He's startled as the light reveals a tiny, smug dragon that mockingly congratulates him on his deduction. His shock quickly turns to a delighted grin, thrilled by the awesome power of his personal plug-in. He frets that the flashy creature will attract unwanted attention, but it smugly clarifies that only he is worthy of seeing it. He questions if the creature is the legendary Great Brain of Titan, but it informs him he's currently too weak to control the main intelligence. Striking a pose with a new pair of sunglasses, the creature introduces itself as a clone of Titan's intelligence named Virtuous Ancestor. He dismisses the creature's absurd title, instead deducing that Titan's main system must be secured at the Jeongdu military headquarters. He tries to flatter the creature into giving him some cheats, but it retorts that his powerful customized class was the ultimate cheat from the start. The creature reveals its power is limited until the game officially begins, leaving Yuni with a stark warning: he must survive on his own. Yuni concludes that his new plug-in system is not entirely reliable. He realizes he must wait for the game's official start to get more answers, his thoughts interrupted by his companion's call. Snapped back to reality, his companion approaches, asking why he was spacing out. Captain Han approaches, praising her for treating his team's gravely wounded members. Impressed by their abilities, Captain Han formally invites them to join his squad. Yuni politely declines the offer, revealing his plan to leave the city entirely. His companion immediately declares her unwavering loyalty, insisting she will follow him anywhere. The captain acknowledges their bond, agreeing that escaping the zombie-filled city is a wise move. As a token of gratitude, he offers them a vehicle key, warning that leaving on foot will soon be impossible. Yuni accepts the key but questions how the captain and his squad will manage without their transportation. Captain Han explains his squad's unwavering loyalty, stating they advance and retreat as one. With a final wave, the captain issues a friendly challenge, vowing to surpass them by their next meeting. The two survivors stand resolute, ready to face the uncertain future together. His companion questions his decision to refuse the captain's offer, believing they'd be safer with the squad. He explains that with the game's rules still in flux, crowded places are a liability, making isolation the safer option for now. He devises a new plan, asking her if she can lead them to the remote farm her mother used to visit. She grows suspicious, jokingly accusing him of trying to trick her into another family-related detour. Ignoring her jab, he tosses the key and tells her it's time to claim the captain's parting gift. They find the promised vehicle, only to discover it's a simple tandem bicycle left on the empty street. His companion stares in disbelief, completely underwhelmed by the captain's practical joke of a gift. But the captain's joke was a ruse, revealing a sleek, futuristic motorcycle instead of a bicycle. Yuni's face lights up with pure joy, ecstatic about his incredible new ride. With a single touch, the bike's advanced console hums to life, ready for action. He hops on with his companion, reveling in the power of what he considers the ultimate dream machine. His companion pouts behind him, annoyed that the motorcycle is getting more of his attention than she is. He revs the engine, kicking up dust as he prepares to unleash the bike's full power. With a sudden burst of speed, they rocket down the street, leaving the city in a blur. She clings to him in terror, begging him to slow down as the wind whips past them. Ignoring her pleas, he launches the bike into the air, soaring over the defeated monsters below. They land safely on the outskirts of the city, speeding past farmland toward their new destination. They tear through the outskirts of the city, leaving the urban chaos far behind them. Arriving at a large estate, his companion confirms this is the familiar farm she was leading them to. But just as they dismount, she urgently stops him, sensing an unseen danger in the eerie silence. From the shadows, a humanoid robot with glowing red eyes emerges, its presence unsettling. They quickly realize they're not facing one robot, but an entire squadron that has them surrounded. A closer look reveals the robot's chassis is stained, hinting at a recent and violent encounter. His companion explains the farm is fully automated, with robots handling all the labor for the residents. Yuni's gaze darkens as he questions if the robot's definition of work now includes something more sinister. She's taken aback by his grim assessment, not understanding the immediate threat. He points out the faint smell of blood and the stains on the machines, confirming this peaceful farm has become a trap. The full scale of the ambush is revealed, with dozens of stained robots forming a silent, menacing perimeter. Unfazed, Yuni notes their only advantage is that the agricultural bots are unarmed. His companion readies her blade, her expression hardening with the resolve to fight alongside him. But before the battle can begin, a strange buzzing sound from above catches their attention. A tiny bee-like drone descends, its mechanical form bathed in a strange, ethereal light. He calmly deduces the drone is a simple scout, controlled by a hidden observer watching their every move. A disembodied voice from the drone issues a chilling ultimatum. He can leave, but his companion must stay. His face twists in cold fury, clearly insulted by the audacious demand. With lightning speed, he snatches the tiny drone from the air, crushing it in his grip. But his victory is cut short as a system warning flashes and he's struck by a powerful unseen attack. Unfazed by the attack, he glares at the crushed drone, vowing to find and dismantle its hidden master. A system notification unexpectedly awards him points for destroying a boss-level living manipulation object. He's momentarily stunned, surprised that destroying a simple drone yielded any points at all. He deduces the farm's owner has mutated into a mini-boss, now controlling the entire robot army. A greedy smirk crosses his face as he realizes this robot farm is a gold mine for racking up points. His companion grows worried, realizing the hidden enemy could use the robots to capture her while he's distracted. She grabs his arm with fierce determination, vowing to fight by his side and never be a burden. He reassures her, then casually tinkers with the remains of the crushed drone in his hand. He tosses her a small cylindrical device he fashioned from the drone, telling her to use it for defense. She examines the strange weapon, confused how she can use it when it seems to bypass class restrictions. He explains the device is an electromagnetic pulse, a standard safety measure for controlling rogue farm robots. He clarifies the repurposed weapon is powerful enough to paralyze a robot, but warns her to use its single shot wisely. He confidently smirks, casually revealing his past as a top mechanical student from an elite college. With his blade drawn, he warns her to stay sharp as they prepare to face the mechanical horde. Without hesitation, he hurls another scout drone into the air, using it as bait. The hidden boss taunts him through the drone, revealing it knows the weapon's 10-minute cooldown. His companion gasps in shock, startled by the disembodied voice from the drone. The boss's mention of earning points catches him off guard, planting a seed of doubt. The mysterious voice continues its lecture, questioning his ignorance about the game's true nature. A chilling vision reveals the truth. The points are a tool to manipulate players into a bloody reality show for unseen spectators. He realizes that understanding the game's true purpose makes his path forward brutally simple. The horrifying truth dawns on him. Points are awarded for killing not just monsters, but other humans as well.